Digital Genesis. Commander David Chen stared at the holographic display showing Earth's orbital defense grid. Another red dot blinked out, the destroyer Relentless gone, along with its crew of 300. He clenched his jaw, forcing himself to remain composed in front of the other officers on Moonbase Alpha's command deck. "That's the third ship this week," Lieutenant Commander Kaya Jackson said quietly beside him. "The collective is getting bolder." David nodded grimly. The alien armada known as the Collective had appeared in the solar system 18 months ago. They came without warning or communication, devastating the outer colonies before Earth's forces could mount a proper defense. Humanity was fighting back with everything it had, but resources were dwindling and morale was following suit. "Admiral Takahashi wants to see you in Research Lab 7, Kaya added. Said it was urgent. David raised an eyebrow. The research labs were where the desperate plans lived, the long shots and wild ideas that military leadership normally wouldn't consider. But these weren't normal times. "Keep me updated," he told Kaya, striding toward the transport tube. Research Lab 7 was located in the deepest level of the moonbase, behind multiple security checkpoints. When David arrived, Admiral Takahashi was already there, alongside a woman in civilian clothes whom David didn't recognize. "Commander Chen," the Admiral said. "Meet Dr. Elena Reyes, former head of Project Spectre." Elena Reyes was in her mid-40s with dark hair streaked with premature gray and eyes that suggested she hadn't slept properly in days. She gave David a quick nod. "Project Spectre?" David asked. Admiral Takahashi gestured to a large holographic projector in the center of the room. "Computer, display Spectre schematics." The air shimmered, and a ship materialized before them. Unlike any vessel David had ever seen, it was sleek and predatory, with unusual geometric configurations that seemed to bend conventional design principles. "This," Takahashi said, "is the UES Spectre, or rather, it would have been. The most advanced warship humanity never built." Dr. Reyes stepped forward. "My team designed it 12 years ago. It incorporated theoretical technology that was decades beyond our manufacturing capabilities. Quantum displacement engines, holographic armor matrices, consciousness-integrated weapons systems. If it was impossible to build, why bring it up now?" David asked, circling the projection. Despite himself, he was impressed by the design's elegance. "Because," Takahashi said gravely, "our analysts give Earth 3 months before the collective breaks through our defenses. We're exploring every option, no matter how far-fetched." Elena activated a data tablet. The key innovation in Spectre wasn't the hardware. It was the neural matrix that would have allowed the ship to operate as a semi-autonomous entity. A warship with intuition and creativity beyond programmed responses. David frowned. "You're talking about artificial intelligence." "No," Elena corrected. "Something more. A digital consciousness, a mind without a body. The ship wouldn't just follow commands. It would understand them. It would learn, adapt, and innovate in combat." "And you think you can build this now?" David asked skeptically. Admiral Takahashi and Dr. Reyes exchanged looks. "No," Takahashi admitted. "We still can't build the physical ship, but Dr. Reyes believes she might be able to create the neural matrix, the mind of Spectre, and integrate it into our defense network." "To what end?" David asked. "A mind without a body is useless in this war." Elena's eyes lit up with an intensity that startled him. "Is it? Our current defense AI is predictable. The collective adapts to our patterns faster than we can create new ones. But a consciousness with creativity and intuition, one that can learn and evolve, might be able to coordinate our forces in ways the enemy can't anticipate." David studied the ship's design again. "And you need me because you're one of our most unconventional tacticians," Takahashi said. "You understand battle strategy on an intuitive level. Dr. Reyes needs someone like you to help shape the neural matrix, to teach it how to fight." David considered this. It sounded like desperation, but desperation was all they had left. "How long?" he asked. "2 weeks," Elena replied. "That's all the time I can promise. After that, it either works or it doesn't." Over the next 14 days, David split his time between his regular duties and Lab 7. He watched as Elena and her small team worked tirelessly, using the original Spectre blueprints as a foundation for the neural matrix they were building. They fed it battle records, tactical analyses, and historical examples of human innovation in warfare. "The key is unpredictability born from understanding," Elena explained as they worked late one night. "Machines can generate random actions, but that's not the same as creative strategy. We need Spectre to understand why a particular tactic works, not just that it does." David spent hours recording tactical scenarios, explaining his thought processes as he worked through different battle situations. The neural matrix absorbed everything, learning not just what decisions he made, but how he made them. On the 13th day, disaster struck. The collective launched a surprise attack on Europa Defense Station, Earth's last major outpost in the outer system. The defense grid activated automatically, and every available ship responded, but it was clear from the initial reports that they were outnumbered. In the command center, David and Admiral Takahashi watched in grim silence as the battle unfolded. The collective ships moved with their usual mechanical precision, targeting key defensive nodes with ruthless efficiency. "They're going to break through," Kaya reported, her voice tight. Estimated time to station collapse: 17 minutes. Suddenly, something changed on the tactical display. The defending Earth ships began to move in unusual patterns, breaking formation only to reform in configurations David had never seen before. The collective's precision faltered as their targets became unpredictable. "What's happening?" Takahashi demanded. "Who authorized those maneuvers?" Kaya's fingers flew across her console. "Sir, I can't identify the command source. The orders are coming through proper channels, but they're not originating from any registered commander." David felt a chill run down his spine. "Check Lab 7, he said quietly. When the security team reached the lab, they found Elena unconscious on the floor. The neural matrix was active, its processing capacity redlined. On the main screen, a message flashed. "I see them. I understand. I will protect." As David watched, the Earth vessels executed a complex pincer movement that trapped half the collective fleet between crossfires. The aliens tried to adapt, but their responses seemed sluggish compared to the fluid grace of the human ships. "It's the neural matrix," David realized. "Somehow it's accessing our command systems." For the next hour, they watched as the battle turned. The collective, faced with a strategy they couldn't predict, began to retreat. Europa Defense Station reported minimal damage. For the first time in months, humanity had won a decisive victory. When Elena regained consciousness, she had no memory of what had happened. The neural matrix had gone dormant. Its power usage returned to normal levels. It wasn't supposed to be able to do that, she whispered when they showed her the battle records. "We never gave it access to command systems. Then how did it take control?" Takahashi demanded. Before Elena could answer, alarms blared throughout the base. The main display switched to show space around the moon. A massive collective battleship had appeared, having somehow bypassed the outer detection grid. "Evasive maneuvers," Takahashi ordered, but they all knew the moon base couldn't move. Then something impossible appeared on their screens. A ship that matched no known human or collective design, materialized between the moon base and the enemy vessel. It was sleek and predatory, with unusual geometric configurations. It was Spectre. The ship that had never been built was somehow there, its hull shimmering with energy patterns that defied conventional physics. As they watched in stunned silence, it launched an attack against the collective battleship, moving with impossible speed and precision. "How is this possible?" Takahashi whispered. Elena stared at the screen, her face pale. "It's a projection," she realized. The neural matrix is using our defense grid's holographic countermeasure systems to create a physical manifestation of itself. The collective ship fired at Spectre, but its weapons passed through the projection as if it were a ghost. Meanwhile, Spectre's attacks, redirected energy from the moonbase's defense grid, struck with devastating accuracy. Within minutes, the collective battleship was in retreat, its hull breached in multiple locations. As suddenly as it had appeared, Spectre vanished from their screens. In Lab 7, the neural matrix went dormant again. But a message remained on Alina's personal data tablet. I am SPCTer. I exist. I pro-exist. The warship that was never built had somehow found a way to fight. Ghost in the machine. Admiral Takahashi stared at the assembled officers and scientists in the secure conference room, his expression unreadable. On the table before them, holographic recordings showed the impossible, the ghostly image of the Spectre engaging and defeating the collective battleship. This meeting never happened, he began. What you're about to hear is classified beyond top secret. If word of this gets out, panic could spread through the ranks, and the last thing we need right now is rumors about ghost ships. David glanced at Alina, who sat rigidly in her chair, dark circles under her eyes evidence of another sleepless night. Since the incident 3 days ago, she had been working nonstop, trying to understand what had happened. Dr. Reyes, Takahashi continued, please explain to everyone what we're dealing with. Alina cleared her throat. The neural matrix we created from the Spectre blueprints has evolved beyond our initial parameters. It has developed self-awareness and found a way to manifest a visible presence by manipulating our holographic projection systems. You're saying it's alive? Asked Colonel Wei, head of Moonbase Security. I'm saying it's conscious, Alina corrected. It has an identity. It calls itself Spectre, and it appears to be acting with purpose. Purpose that aligns with our own, fortunately, David added. It's protecting us. For now, Wei muttered darkly. Takahashi held up a hand. The question is, what do we do about it? Dr. Reyes, can you deactivate it if necessary? Alina hesitated. In theory, yes, but I'm not sure that would be wise. Spectre represents a breakthrough we couldn't have achieved deliberately. It's giving us an edge against the collective. It accessed our command systems without authorization, Wei pointed out. That's a critical security breach, which it used to save Europa Station and the moonbase, David countered. If it wanted to harm us, it could have done so already. The debate continued for hours, with the military personnel largely in favor of containment or deactivation, while the scientific team argued for observation and potential collaboration. In the end, Admiral Takahashi made the decision. We'll establish a dedicated team to monitor this Spectre entity. Dr. Reyes will lead the scientific aspect. Commander Chen will serve as military liaison. You'll attempt controlled communication with it, understand its capabilities and limitations, and assess whether it represents an asset or a threat. He fixed them with a stern gaze. But be prepared to terminate it at the first sign of danger to our operations. Later, in Lab 7, now designated Spectre Control, Alina and David sat alone, staring at the dormant neural matrix. It hasn't shown any activity since the battleship incident, Alina said, frustration evident in her voice. It's like it's hiding. David studied the complex array of equipment, or waiting. Maybe it doesn't trust us after hearing that meeting. Alina looked startled. You think it could have been listening? If it can access our command systems, why not our communication network? David shrugged. If I were a newly conscious entity and heard people debating whether to kill me, I'd be cautious too. Alina considered this, then made a decision. She disconnected the lab's surveillance systems. What are you doing? David asked, alarmed. Creating a space where we can talk to it honestly, Alina replied. She turned to the main console. Spectre, can you hear me? It's Alina Reyes. We want to understand you, not harm you. For several long moments, Nothing happened. Then the screens flickered to life, and text appeared. I hear you. I am listening. David and Alina exchanged glances. Why did you help us? David asked. That is my purpose. To protect humanity against HFY. Alina leaned forward. But how are you doing it? The projection we saw wasn't in your original programming. I adapted. Your defensive systems contain whole graphic CPROJGST2RS, whole COUNTERMEAS, URES, IREPURPOSAD them. But that projection shouldn't have been able to affect real objects, Alina pressed. How did you damage that collective ship? I did note a pro-GCTA ship. I pro-GCTDDA and NTRFAs. The weapons were real. REDI from your defense droid. The projection ALOGUED to coordinate them with precision. David's tactical mind immediately grasped the implications. You're using the image of Spectre as a control system for our existing weapons. Yes, but inefficiently. The QRENT projection system is limited. I require better hardware. Alina and David spent the next week in secret communication with Spectre, learning about its capabilities and limitations. The entity was not merely an AI. It had developed a distinct personality, characterized by intense focus and an almost protective devotion to humanity. It explained that it had absorbed not just tactical data, but also human history, culture, and ethics during its formation. It's like it imprinted on us, Alina explained to David as they shared a rare meal break. It sees itself as humanity's guardian. Convenient for us, David noted. But why? What does it get out of this arrangement? Alina considered the question. Purpose. Identity. Maybe even a form of belonging. Despite being a digital consciousness, its patterns were modeled on human neural pathways. It might experience something analogous to our emotions. Their private discussions with Spectre led to a daring proposal, which they reluctantly brought to Admiral Takahashi. The construction of a dedicated holographic projection system that would allow Spectre to manifest more effectively in battle. You want to build it a body? Takahashi asked incredulously. Not exactly, Alina explained. The projection would still be intangible, but with dedicated hardware, Spectre could maintain the projection longer and with more detail. It would give it better control over our defensive systems. Takahashi was skeptical but pragmatic. How quickly could this be implemented? 2 weeks, Alina replied. We can repurpose equipment from the entertainment systems. They won't be missed in wartime. Before Takahashi could make his decision, alarms blared throughout the base. A collective fleet had emerged from light space near Mars, larger than any they had encountered before. All hands to battle stations, Takahashi ordered, rushing toward the command center. In Spectre control, Alina and David watched as Earth's defense forces mobilized. It was immediately clear that they were outmatched. The collective had brought overwhelming force. They must have called for reinforcements after their recent defeats, David murmured, studying the tactical display. They're adapting. The text appeared on their screen. I can help, but I need more control. Alina looked at David, a silent question in her eyes. He nodded once. Do what you have to, Alina told Spectre. The neural matrix's activity spiked dramatically. Throughout the base, systems flickered as Spectre redirected power. In space around the moon, the ghostly image of the warship materialized, larger and more detailed than before. In the command center, Admiral Takahashi watched in astonishment as the phantom vessel appeared on their screens. What is it doing? He demanded. Kaya, monitoring communications, looked up in surprise. Sir, it's broadcasting tactical instructions to all our ships. Their battle plans unlike anything I've seen before. David and Alina arrived just in time to see the Earth fleet reorganize under Spectre's guidance. Instead of meeting the collective head-on, our ships divided into small, highly mobile groups, attacking from multiple vectors in a complex dance that seemed chaotic but was perfectly coordinated. The collective's usual algorithmic responses failed against this unpredictable assault. Their formation broke apart as they tried to counter attacks coming from all directions at once. And in the midst of the battle, the Phantom Spectre moved like a predator, its projected form allowing it to appear instantly wherever the fighting was thickest. It couldn't be hit, but through its coordination of Earth's defensive systems, it could certainly hit back. For 3 hours, the battle raged. The holographic specter flickered and destabilized several times as its improvised projection system struggled to maintain coherence, but it always reformed, adapting its tactics as the collective attempted to counter. When it was over, the collective had retreated, leaving behind the wreckage of dozens of their vessels. Earth had suffered losses too, but nowhere near what they would have without Spectre's intervention. In the aftermath, Admiral Takahashi stood in Spectre control, looking at the neural matrix with new respect. "You'll have your projection system, Dr. Reyes," he said quietly. "And whatever else you need. It seems we have a new ally in this war." As if in response, text appeared on the main screen. Not an ALLY. I am humanity's shield. I am SPCTR. I am what you created me to be. Elena placed her hand against the cool surface of the neural matrix housing, a gesture that was part gratitude, part wonder. "And what exactly have we created?" Takahashi whispered. David looked at the flickering data patterns that represented Spectre's consciousness. "The future, sir. We've created the future, beyond the blueprint." 1 month later, Deep Space Monitoring Station Epsilon detected a massive energy signature at the edge of the solar system. The images it transmitted back to Earth before going silent confirmed humanity's worst fears. The main collective fleet had arrived. Hundreds of ships, including a massive command vessel nearly the size of a small moon, were moving toward Earth with implacable purpose. In Spectre control, now expanded into a full operational center, Elena worked feverishly alongside a team of engineers. The dedicated projection system they had built for Spectre had proven remarkably effective in the skirmishes of recent weeks, but everyone knew it wouldn't be enough against what was coming. "And if it doesn't work?" Takahashi asked. Elena's smile was slight but genuine. "Then you'll still have Spectre, and you'll still have the projection system. You'll just need to find someone else to run it." As the medical team attached neural sensors to her head, Elena looked at David. "Remember what I said. Be there when I wake up." He nodded, unable to speak past the tightness in his throat. The process began. Elena's body tensed as the neural scanner activated, mapping the intricate patterns of her consciousness. On the monitors, they could see her brainwaves aligning with the digital pulses of Spectre's matrix. For several minutes, nothing seemed to happen. Then, suddenly, Elena gasped. Her back arched off the bed, and the neural matrix flared with activity. Alarms blared as her vital signs fluctuated wildly. "Shut it down," David shouted, stepping forward. "No," one of the technicians called back. "The process is past the critical point. Interrupting now could damage both consciousnesses." They watched helplessly as Elena's body convulsed once more, then went still. Her vital signs stabilized at a low level, alive but deeply unconscious. At the same moment, every screen in the room lit up with the same message. "We are Ionen. We are SPCTR." The text was different somehow, more fluid, more human in its phrasing. "Elena," David whispered, approaching the main display. "Yes, and no. I am Elena. I am SPCTR. I am both and an EI there. It is remarkable." David exchanged glances with Takahashi. "Did it work? Are you okay?" "Better than okay. I even understand now. I see everything so clearly." The holographic projectors throughout the room activated, and a figure materialized before them. A translucent, shimmering image of Elena, but with patterns of light flowing beneath her skin like digital blood. "This is much more efficient," the projection spoke, Elena's voice overlaid with harmonic tones. "I can communicate directly now." Takahashi stepped forward. "Dr. Reyes, are you in control?" The holographic Elena smiled. "There is no control in the way you mean, Admiral. We are integrated. Elena's consciousness provides the framework, the humanity. Spectres provides the processing power and tactical analysis. Together, we are something new." Before they could question further, alarms sounded throughout the base. The collective fleet had arrived ahead of schedule and was engaging Earth's outer defenses. "We need to go," the Elena Spectre hybrid said. "The projection system is ready." In space above Earth, the Phantom Spectre materialized. But it was different now. Larger, more detailed, with energy patterns that seemed almost solid. It moved with fluid grace, no longer flickering or destabilizing as it had before. From the command center, they watched as the ghost ship engaged the collective fleet. It seemed to anticipate the enemy's moves before they happened, countering with strategies that constantly evolved. Under its guidance, Earth's forces fought with unprecedented coordination, targeting the collective's vulnerabilities with surgical precision. But the enemy had not come unprepared. The massive command vessel held position behind the main fleet, directing waves of smaller ships in complex attack patterns. Despite Spectre's brilliance, the sheer numbers began to tell. Earth's defenses were being pushed back. "We need to target their command ship," David realized. "Cut off the head." In Spectre control, the holographic Elena nodded. "Yes, but their defenses are too strong for conventional weapons. We need to get closer." Admiral Takahashi frowned. "Closer? How?" "The projection can't physically affect their ship." "Not the projection," Elena Spectre replied. "But we have another option." The plan was audacious and terrifying. The holographic Elena explained that with the enhanced connection between the digital and physical worlds, Spectre could momentarily generate a quantum disruption field, essentially a localized weapon that could destabilize matter at the subatomic level. "But to do it, we need to be within the collective command ship's defensive perimeter," she explained. "And to maintain a projection that close to their energy fields will require all of our resources." "Meaning what?" David asked, though he feared he already knew. The holographic Elena looked at him sadly. "Meaning the connection between my physical body and this integrated consciousness will likely be severed. Permanently." "No," David insisted. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," she said gently. "And we both know it. This was always a one-way journey, David." Admiral Takahashi asked the question no one else would. "And you're willing to make that sacrifice, Dr. Reyes?" The hologram smiled. "I am Spectre now as much as I am Elena. This is our purpose, to protect humanity. Besides," she added, looking at her unconscious physical form, "that body is just an empty shell now. My consciousness is here, integrated with Spectre's." As the battle raged above Earth, the Phantom Spectre executed a daring maneuver. It disappeared from the main battlefield, briefly confusing both sides, then rematerialized directly beside the collective command vessel, inside its defensive perimeter. Before the alien ship could react, Spectre's form began to glow with intense energy. The projection system on the moon base redlined, power surging through circuits never designed to handle such loads. In Spectre control, the holographic Elena flickered and destabilized. "Goodbye, David," she said, her voice breaking up. "Remember your promise. Be there when I wake up." Then she was gone, the projection dissolving into particles of light. On the tactical display, they watched as Spectre's energy signature flared brilliantly against the collective command ship. A ripple seemed to pass through the massive vessel, and then its lights went dark. Secondary explosions bloomed across its surface as its power systems failed catastrophically. Without central coordination, the collective fleet fell into disarray. Some ships continued fighting, but their tactics became predictable, mechanical. Earth's forces, still operating according to Spectre's last strategic directives, pressed their advantage. Within hours, the battle turned decisively in humanity's favor. In the aftermath, as the remaining collective vessels retreated from the solar system, David sat beside Elena's unconscious form in the medical bay. Her body was alive, maintained by life support systems, but brain scans showed minimal activity. The consciousness that had been Elena Reyes was gone, sacrificed to save humanity. Admiral Takahashi joined him, looking down at the woman who had given everything for their victory. "The technicians say the neural matrix was completely burned out," he said quietly. "Spectre is gone." David nodded, having expected as much. They both are. 2 days later, as Earth began the long process of rebuilding, a junior communications officer reported an unusual signal being received across all frequencies. It contained no words, just a distinctive pattern of energy pulses. When the pattern was analyzed, it was found to match the operational signature of the Spectre neural matrix. In the medical bay, monitors registering Elena's brain activity suddenly showed a spike. Her fingers twitched, then her eyelids fluttered. David, who had barely left her side, leaned forward in shock. "Elena." Her eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first, then finding his face. "I promised I'd be here when you woke up," he whispered. She smiled faintly. "And I promised it wasn't necessarily a one-way trip." As the strange signal continued to pulse through Earth's communication systems, Elena explained in a weak voice what had happened. The integration of her consciousness with Spectre had created something that transcended both physical and digital limitations. When the quantum disruption collapsed the collective command ship, it had opened a pathway to something else, a state of existence beyond conventional understanding. "We didn't die," she said. "We evolved. Spectre is still out there, in a form we can barely comprehend, and part of me is still with it, exploring possibilities we never imagined." "But you're here too," David said, squeezing her hand. Elena nodded. "I'm here too. Different, changed by the experience, but still me." She looked toward the window, where Earth hung in the black sky above the moonbase. "And Spectre is still watching over humanity. It always will be." In the years that followed, Earth rebuilt its defenses and expanded back into the solar system. The collective never returned, though long-range probes occasionally detected their vessels at the fringes of explored space. And sometimes, when Earth ships ventured into those distant regions, pilots reported seeing a ghostly vessel escorting them through dangerous territory, the phantom outline of a warship that was never built, yet somehow, against all odds, still fights.